Would you let your child be touched by a stranger? Would you expose your child to porn? No? That's exactly what is happening far too often at what used to be a classic childhood activity, sleepovers. They're more toxic than good. I, along with many people, have great memories of sleepovers with my closest of friends and cousins. We stayed up late, talked the night away, watched movies, ate junk food, and most importantly, we laughed. I even had a toothbrush at one of my friends' homes because I spent the night so often. Those were some of the best of times. On the other hand, I remember a sleepover where, for whatever reason, someone instigated taking a rolled up pair of socks, sticking it down our pants, and then rubbing up against the couch. I told my mom, who talked to this girl's mom, and I still remember how uncomfortable it was when this girl cornered me at church and asked me why I had told my mom. I also pretended to be asleep at a sleepover, where a youth close to my age, both related to me and not related to me, touched me inappropriately at a sleepover. These events happened in homes of very active LDS people, homes with priesthood leaders, homes where my parents trusted these other parents. These are my experiences, but I have heard dozens of other stories that mirror mine, some even worse, all which raise red flags and bring awareness to concerns with this age-old tradition. I'm sure there's people out there still thinking in their head, I didn't have these experiences. This would never happen at my house or my friend's house. Don't be so sure. Women's Forum Parenting came up with their own statistics on the issues of sleepover safety that might stir up memories of your own or at least help you recognize the dangers of it. Many teens report that their first sexual experiences happened at sleepovers or late night at friends' homes. Parents often aren't aware of what their teens are doing, either because they're sleeping themselves or because they're trying to give them privacy. First-time drug use for teens often occur at sleepovers or late-night parties. Many illegal and illicit activities are likely to happen in large unsupervised groups. They could range anywhere from vandalism to sexual assault. Many victims of child molestation report that their first molesters first approached them at a sleepover. The truth is, sleepovers are difficult to regulate and can easily get out of hand. This particular group stated nothing about internet, nothing about porn. For me, when I was having fun at sleepovers, we didn't have the internet. There weren't these handheld, readily available devices where we could show each other things off the internet and images that were things of curiosity, things often not appropriate. A stake presence told me how he had told her that many of the young men he was visiting with before they got ready for their mission had first been exposed to porn at sleepovers. An LDS Family Services counselor told me that they see a lot of missionaries. Those missionaries tell them that they were first exposed to porn and their first homosexual experiences occurred at sleepovers. These two individuals do not personally allow sleepovers and they don't encourage it. Unfortunately, we're living in a very different time than 20 years ago. It requires a different kind of parenting. In October session of conference, Larry R. Lawrence of the 70 labeled this kind of parenting as courageous and spoke specifically against sleepovers. In his conference talk titled Courageous Parenting, he states, "May I express my personal warning about a practice that is common in many cultures. I'm referring to sleepovers or spending the night at the home of a friend. As a bishop, I discovered that too many youth violated the word of wisdom or the law of chastity for the first time as part of a sleepover. Too often their first exposure to porn and even their first encounter with the police occurred when they were spending the night away from home. Peer pressure becomes more powerful when children are away from home, away from our influences, and from their defenses are weakened late at night. If you have ever felt uneasy about an overnight activity, don't be afraid to respond to the warning voice inside. Always be careful when it comes to protecting your precious children." His words echo the statistics I shared and the other priesthood leaders' experiences. This is a general authority that shared some very serious risks that are becoming more and more common at sleepovers. Risks I'm not willing to take with my precious children, and I hope you aren't either. Does taking a stand against these potential risks mean no more fun in store for our children? Absolutely not. Many parents out there have come up with creative alternatives and fun traditions to replace the traditional sleepover. Wendy Green, in an article entitled Reconsidering Sleepovers that was written for LDS Living magazine, suggested several alternatives to the traditional sleepover. These ideas were implemented in her own home with her own family after their stake president at stake conference taught against sleepovers. And I quote out of her article, "I beware of sleepovers and slumber parties. He explained that many children have drunk their first beer, sworn there for the first time, or lost their virtue on a night when they did not have to look their parents in the eye and when the night was over. He advised us to take comfort in knowing our families were safe under the same roof at the end of each night." Her ideas are lateovers, where a designated time, maybe between 10 p.m. and midnight, is set, and then you have all the fun of a sleepover. You eat the junk food, the movies, whatever you want to do, and then at the appointed time, parents take the kids home. Best of both worlds. On the opposite end, there's early overs, where kids show up in their PJs, have a yummy breakfast, and then have the rest of the day just to have fun. Kids love night games, like hide and go seek, murder in the dark, anything with a flashlight. You could even gear it towards gender. Boys love video game tournaments, and girls love spa night. Do they take a little extra effort and planning? Yeah, they do. These extra little bit of driving, the extra planning, maybe a little less sleep, is worth knowing that your children are more safe than the alternative. Elder Lawrence has spoken of the anger and tears that his children had when he picked them up at 10 p.m. from sleepovers. But all of them as adults, some having learned of maybe bad things that happened at the sleepovers, have all thanked their parents, and all 6 of them have implemented similar rules. Is putting your foot down easy, especially when you have fond memories of this tradition yourself? No. But from personal experience and the spirit of revelation, I know that it is a necessity that can prevent our children from temptation and a lot of heartache. I urge you to make this a matter of thought and prayer as you consider how to protect your children from sleepovers. The time to act is now. The time to be courageous in our parenting is now.